When he got on a plane in Portland, Oregon last night, he was just another passenger who gave his name as D.A. Cooper.
Jet, but the hijacker had given detailed flight instructions. The rear stairwell was open all the way. It arrived at Reno in shreds.
We gave the information to the authorities, and we just don't want to discuss it any further.
Have you been told by the FBI?
For Cooper and his $200,000 went on for weeks, but filmers that he jumped out with was found by a hunter in the woods.
The 727 in the flatlands of Oregon or Washington. They are still looking in 4 states, even around the airport. Authorities began their search here, thinking the hijacker may have jumped off at the end of the runway as the plane touched down. But
His young son found
to say,
We gave the information to the authorities, and we just don't want to.
He reinforced his demands by opening a briefcase and showing the stewardess what appeared to be a bomb. The stewardess reported directly to the captain, who then communicated the skyjacker's demands to the airlines and the FAA. Ralph Himmelsbach, an FBI veteran with 29 years service, was notified of a skyjacking in progress. Flight 305 from Portland to Seattle normally takes 36 minutes. This day, it would last more than 2 hours. 2 of the passengers on that flight were Richard and Barbara Simmons.
Well, they had asked us to remain in our seats, and of course, after 2 hours in the air, I felt an urge to go back to the men's restroom and got up and walked down the aisle and noticed the expression of the stewardess was rather horrified. She glanced first at me walking up the aisle, and then at D.B. Cooper and at the handbag by his side, and then back at me again as if, why are you doing what you're doing? But as I walked past her into the men's room, he turned around and looked very intently at me, and I got a pretty good look. I thought it rather strange that he was that interested in me. And so I got a pretty good impression of him. He was very alert and very much in command of the situation. He knew what was going on, and he was watching carefully every move of every passenger.
Meanwhile, law enforcement officers and airline officials were now preparing to meet Cooper's demands. Earl Cossey, a parachutist with 16 years experience and 3,200 jumps to his credit, was asked to supply the 4 parachutes Cooper wanted. By 3:34, Captain Robert Scott was circling the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, while airline officials collected the $200,000 from a group of Seattle banks. Cossey was quickly preparing the parachutes to be delivered to Cooper. By mistake, one was a ground training chute with its panels sewn shut, thus making it defective. At FBI headquarters, a furious effort was being made to record each serial number on the 10,000 $20 bills that would comprise the ransom demanded by Cooper. The plane finally landed in Seattle at 5:46 p.m. it was brought to a remote area of the runway.
When we finally did land, we landed way off in the far end of the field, which I felt was just a way that showed that he had engineered things so that there was just no possible thing that could have gotten in his way. He allowed the passengers to be unloaded, but kept them grouped out on the airport for close to 45 minutes in the wind and the cold and the rain. And a car met the airplane with the parachute and the money, and we were rumored that that was there. And but none of us were allowed to leave until that had all taken place, and then we were allowed slowly to walk across the airfield.
The flight crew and Cooper remained aboard the aircraft. At 7:36 p.m., the plane, refueled and prepared for flight, headed south in low clouds, wind, and showers. Cooper demanded that the landing gear be kept down, and displaying basic flight knowledge, he also ordered the wing flaps set at 15 degrees to slow the jet's speed. The Air Force scrambled jet fighters from McChord Air Force Base near Tacoma to follow the plane from a safe distance. Flying 727, even with radar vectors, is like trying to find the proverbial needle in a haystack. About 20 minutes later, Cooper ordered the entire crew to stay locked in the front of the plane. p.m., the crew felt a sudden change in the pressure throughout the plane. Because of the inclement weather, no one, including the Air Force jets, ever saw Cooper jump or a chute open. The territory in which Cooper jumped was to be searched by planes, helicopters, and trackers on foot. Both Washington and Oregon possess some of the most impenetrable forests in the country. That Cooper would pick these areas may provide clues to his identity. For the present, all we have is an artist's rendering of his face. Who was Cooper?
Hundreds of troops combed the woods near Woodland and east to the town of Ariel. The search for Cooper and his $200,000 went on for weeks, but nobody really knew where he bailed out, where he landed, or even if he survived. The first hard evidence that he jumped out there was found by a hunter in the woods, part of the exit sign from the door of the aircraft. The Cooper mystery and legend have not died with time. The tale still rolls through these hills, and the rumors persist. Did a fisherman really pull a parachute shroud line out of Lake Merwin, then lose it? A two-man submarine search turned up nothing. Then the Dwayne Ingram family entered the picture last February.
I was going to build a fire, and I had some wood in my arm, and I got ready to set it down, and my son ran up and said, "Wait a minute, Daddy." So he raked a place out in the sand there, and there it was. It kind of tumbled up on the top.
What his young son found was part of Cooper's loot, badly decomposed, in bundles, still in the same order when packed 9 years ago. The beach is 5 miles northwest of Vancouver. The Army Corps of Engineers had dredged the Columbia River here in 1974. The loot had been on the bottom, washed downstream over a 3.5-year period, and now onshore, where FBI agents combed the sand like archaeologists. All they found was $5,800, and no sign of D.B. Cooper. But in the town of Ariel, the people are sure he's still alive.
But a lot of them still think he landed in this area somewhere and made his way towards the Columbia somehow. For all we know, he's been here. You know, walked in, had a beer, and walked out, just to see what the place was like.
The town of Ariel comes alive Saturday with its annual D.B. Cooper party, complete with buffalo stew. They hope this year he'll come out of hiding, if he's still alive, and join in the fun. Brooks Burford, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.